What is up, guys? Quincy Carrier here for another week of XFL recaps. I'm going to try this out, see if you guys like this on this channel, see if this is something you guys are interested in, and see if this is a series you guys want. While we wait for free agency and all that stuff that happened in NFL, let's occupy ourselves with some free football, and that's what the XFL was this weekend. Last week was very good. Had some highs, had some lows, but good football, very entertaining. I would say that this week was even better. If this was your first week jumping into the XFL, I would think that you had a better experience, and that's how it should go. As the weeks go on, the football should get better. The stakes will get higher, and more importantly, we'll have more information on who's good in what areas, who's good at what things, and what matchups are going to be great. Right now, we're kind of just blindfolding it. But, as a football fan, there's part of me that kind of enjoys it. So there's a lot to talk about that happened in week 2. I'm going to go through every game that happened this weekend, all 4 games, and just do a brief recap or review of each game and go over some of the key points. And the first game we're going to go over is New York at DC. And this was an interesting one. DC blew the Guardians out, the New York Guardians, 27-0. It was a complete and total show of dominance, to the point to where I think DC caused some major locker room issues and a major meltdown on the New York Guardians sideline, especially with their quarterback Matt McGloin, and we'll get into that one. But I think what we learned here is that the DC Defenders, who have Cardale Jones starting at quarterback, I think they're the most complete team in the XFL. If you look at offense and defense, I think they have enough on both sides to get it done. They recently acquired Anthony Johnson, who was one of the better players on the LA Wildcats for reasons probably related to Pepper Johnson being released as a DC over there in LA after week 1. Either way, this defense was good last week, got a lot of turnovers last week, was even better this week. Let me read out some of the stats. They forced 3 turnovers, I think 2 interceptions, 1 fumble. They got 3 sacks, 6 TFLs. They held the Guardians under 100 rushing yards, which is good, and under 100 passing yards, which is freakishly good. It means the Guardians had a dreadful day through the air. Matt McGloin had one of the worst football games I've ever seen in a professional setting, and it was all credit to the defense. The defense really came and outclassed the Guardians, and I don't think the Guardians coaching staff, there's going to be a lot of Matt McGloin, and I think some of what he's saying is right, because 100 yards between 2 quarterbacks in 4 quarters passing, that's not going to win football games, and that's so unusual for a game that was so far away and so blown out. That there has to be some blame on the coaching staff, because that's just ridiculous. 0 points, under 100 rushing yards, under 100 passing yards. That some of the blame does belong to the coaches. But when we'll get to Matt McGloin a little bit here, but man, he went a little bit too far in the way that he went about expressing that information. But anyways, Cardale, so that's how the defense did for the DC Defenders, really good. Cardale Jones put up a good show, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns on 63% passing, not shutting the world down, but very good. I think he had an interception, but he's been playing very good football. He's been one of the most consistent players in the XFL. He is one of the biggest names in the XFL, especially in this area of Cleveland. So again, Cardale Jones doing his thing again. If there's a weakness for DC, I would say it's their run game. They don't have a premier running back. They don't have a go-to guy in that area, and I don't think they broke over 100 yards as a team rushing. So they might have a problem in that area. If a team's able to shut down their passing and make them rely on the run, then it's going to be a very interesting day for the DC Defenders. I wonder how they'll look against a team like the Battlehawks in St. Louis, who look like they have one of the better secondaries in the XFL, or even a team like Houston that has a very good secondary. It's going to be interesting to see if the team can shut down Cardale, get to him, and really disrupt him, if they can figure out a way to make DC rely on their run game. And then what is that run game at that point? Now, it's not an awful run game. They did much better than the Guardians today, but it's not an amazing run game. It's not a great run game. It's not something you can rely on. So it's going to be interesting to see what DC does there and if anybody steps up. Now let's talk about the New York Guardians. And there's a lot to talk about because the New York Guardians, they got some issues. And as a Browns fan, man, it reminded me of a lot of things that I have seen over the past years, except for there was an unprecedented amount of access that allowed you to just digest all of this in real time, which is one of the best things about the XFL. But New York, they have a good defense. I think their defense is fine. Their offense is awful. They have no answer at quarterback. Luis Perez might be a guy they want to step in and play quarterback. He was the starting quarterback in the AAF's Alabama team in, I think, the Birmingham Iron. They were actually pretty good. They had a ton of Alabama players. That probably was why. But they were pretty good. He was all right for the first 2 weeks, but he kind of fell apart after that. But I think they don't really have an option out there. I don't think Marquise Williams is going to be the guy there. Matt McGloin you might be able to go to, but he's got some splaining to do because that's a dude who did not understand how live the mics were. And, everybody on that team has to feel like he threw him under the bus on national TV. And that's not going to be an easy thing to get over. And Matt McGloin's going to have some explaining to do. Or they might ship him out of town and trade for a guy like Connor Cook, who's not going to get off the bench in Houston with PJ in there. So maybe there's some solutions forthcoming for the New York Guardians at quarterback, none of which I really feel like's on the roster. But I feel like they're going to go Luis Perez next week because why not? They already tried the other two, and they got under 100 yards against one of the better teams in the XFL. So, I guess there. Now let's talk about Matt McGloin, who had a complete meltdown. He had a meltdown.
We need to change the whole entire game plan at halftime.
Okay, what do you need to change about the game plan? What are you frustrated about?
There's just a lot going on right out now. It's embarrassing for us here as an offense, so a lot of things we want to fix and correct.
Which was, man, like it's one thing to say that, after the game, you'll get flack for it, as you should. You probably shouldn't throw your coaches under the bus, same way coaches shouldn't throw players under the bus in the press conference. But also, man, it's another thing to say that going into the halftime locker room. That's a bold statement for Matt McGloin to make there. And it got worse throughout the game. I mean, if you can look at up his mic'd up segments, he was complaining while he got benched. He got in an argument. He was saying, like, at one point... he's having an argument about somebody not doing something since December, and he's very obviously pointing a finger at somebody, but he goes and he does that one swarmy thing. You probably got a guy at work who does something like this who's like, I ain't naming names, but dude who sit over there always be, like that annoying guy. That guy you just can't stand. It just makes you want to like throw a stapler at and just like punch him in the chest. Yeah, that's what Matt McGloin was doing. Matt McGloin was doing a lot of dry snitching on his teammates, and that ain't going to go over well in any football locker room. So good luck. Good luck, Matt McGloin, and good luck to the New York Guardians. But dysfunction I see on your way. Dysfunction I see on your way. The next game that we have to talk about was a very, very fun, very good game. Surprisingly good because I did not expect great things coming from Tampa Bay and Seattle. I didn't expect a great turnout in Tampa Bay and Seattle, especially since they were going to be at CenturyLink Field where the Seattle Seahawks played. It's a very loud place. I thought it was going to be very awkward to see that place empty and quiet, but it was not empty and it was not quiet at all. It was 30,000 people into the CenturyLink Stadium. It was still half full, but they shot it in ways that, you didn't see the big. It's not like MetLife where the upper deck is so huge that you just can't, you're just distracted by how empty it is. The CenturyLink Field is just built better to have lower bowl consumption only. So that was good to see. And it was loud. And those fans, you got to give it to them. We're excited. Seattle people, I guess they love football, and they don't care if it's the Seahawks or not. They're going to cheer some football. Those are my kind of people. Have to give it up to them. They created an amazing atmosphere. It reminded me of the best AAF atmosphere I saw was when San Antonio was getting like 40,000 people almost into the Alamo Dome for these games, and they were loud. I remember that. Those were actually games that you wanted to watch. So just seeing a team get 30,000 people first home game, that's pretty good. And they were loud, and they got a great game. They got a really great game. Now, the one thing I noticed in this game is that the quarterbacks are going to be a problem for both teams, and both teams got quarterback controversies either already happening in the case of Tampa Bay or forthcoming in the case of Seattle. And I say forthcoming with Seattle because Brandon Silvers has looked less than good for a second week in a row. And if you're the Seattle Dragons, you have somebody backing up Brandon Silvers, who is somebody who backed up Russell Wilson in Seattle, who's familiar with the fan base, BJ Daniels. Dual threat guy. It looks like dual threat guys are all the rage in this league, by the way. Cardale Jones, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. PJ Walker, oh my goodness, we'll get to him later on. But, it just seems like dual threat guys are the way to go in this league. And it seems like that's where the market inefficiency is at quarterback, is dual threat guys. I think a lot of those guys can get a chance. And BJ Daniels, dual threat guy, might be able to spark something in the offense because outside of, they really don't have a lot of offense in Seattle on that team. They have a great defense. I am excited to see a defense continue to play, but that offense, man, they have to find a spark on offense, and I think maybe BJ Daniels might be the option right there for them. Maybe just run the ball with the quarterback a little bit more. Maybe do some mobile play action stuff, get creative with it. I don't think Brandon Silvers is going to be that answer. They might give him one more game and see how it goes with him. But, I see a quarterback change forthcoming with that because they're going to need something to spark that offense against some of the better teams in the XFL. And I don't see them getting by another week with Brandon Silvers. I think that is going to, because it almost got him this week, how bad Brandon Silvers was. And he was not good. He was, 91 yards total passing on 39% completion. Now, again, the games are shorter in the XFL, so the passing yards are going to be less. But that's 39%. Like, come on, man. You're lucky you won because that's a job-losing performance right there. And then on the other side, Tampa Bay has no idea what to do with Quentin Flowers. And they seem like the team that knows what to do, that seemed like they knew what to do with their dual threat quarterback the most. They had him listed as a quarterback and running back. You were like, okay, they're going to do like a Taysom Hill thing with Quentin Flowers. They're going to have him in the game plan. It's the complete opposite. They're doing the old school, well, we'll take this quarterback out and then throw this other quarterback in, and doing the 2 quarterback system thing. That never works. I hate when I see coaches do that. And then it's just, I'm not a fan of that concept. I think the 2 quarterback system, I've never seen one win a championship in any level of football. It is clear Mark Trestman has no faith in Quentin Flowers to be the quarterback of this team, because every time Quentin Flowers does something not so great, he gives him the hook like that. I honestly think Quentin Flowers probably should be starting, and they probably should run more read option and just, buy into being more of a run-heavy team. But, I just think Mark Trestman is getting in the way of his own offense. And that's kind of what he did in Chicago. So it's not really a surprise. But, for Tampa, I do see this team being held back by Mark Trestman. But it was a great game. All right, let's talk about the third game of the week, Dallas at LA. This one was boring until the second half and then got really interesting in the fourth quarter. 2 of the more experienced quarterbacks in this league, when you think about NFL experience, Landry Jones, longtime Steeler, was on the Steelers for a relatively long time. Most famous for getting benched for a one-arm bend, and that one-arm bend being significantly better than Landry Jones in the game that Vontaze Burfict and Pac-Man Jones just famously ruined for the Cincinnati Bengals wild card weekend. Sorry about that, Ace Boogie. But the quarterback play in this game was serviceable. It wasn't like watching PJ Walker or Cardale Jones. But it was serviceable. It wasn't as bad as whoever Dallas had out there last week, because that dude was awful. But they had those 2 out there. I think Dallas is a really good team. They're gonna have a boring offense. They're gonna have, and it's weird because Hal Mummy's their offensive coordinator. Hal Mummy's like the innovator of of the air raid, but it's just he iterated it so long ago. Now it's it's an old school kind of run heavy air raid, very similar to what Cliff Kingsbury started out doing. But anyways, it's interesting, right? Because I think Dallas is going to be a really old school, and they have the Bob Stoops, the coach there, former Oklahoma coach for a long time. They have him there, and that's going to be a Bob Stoops team. It's going to be a grind them out kind of offense where they're going to run the ball a lot. And that's their forte. They're really good at running the ball. They have some good running backs on that team, but they're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to use some play action, and then Landry Jones can make a couple throws. They'll be all right. And as long as they don't turn the ball over too much on offense, their defense is going to be pretty good. They're an old school kind of like Big Ten team almost. They remind me of how Ohio State played when like Tressel was there, but with like less ancient offensive concepts. Like you're not going to see the I formation like 60% of the time, but they're just like a grind them out kind of old school Big Ten Midwest kind of football team playing in Dallas, which is going to be interesting. I think they're really good. I think they're going to be a contender. I think they might make the playoffs, but I think their offense against some teams like Houston, like DC, that can really score the ball and really move the ball on offense, regardless of who's defending them, they're going to have some issues keeping up, and that's going to be the question for Dallas. Are they going to be able to keep up? Is Landry Jones going to be able to keep up? Because he's going to be good in this league, but just like he was in college, he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be great. And I think there are some guys in this league who are great and a significant step above him. And I think that might be something that costs Dallas at the end of the day. But again, I think they're a good team. On the other side of the ball, you got LA, and LA's a little bit of a mess, to be honest. They fired their defensive coordinator. Their defense is awful. They traded the best defensive player to the best team in the XFL, which made no sense. But, you had to get what you got to get from that situation, I guess. But they have some huge problems defensively. The best thing about LA, though, the thing that they can hang their hat on is that Josh Johnson seems like he fits the mold of this league, seems like he is going to be a good quarterback in this league. And he's one of the most experienced quarterbacks in this league as far as NFL experience goes on the field. Played on a lot of teams. And he might have the best wide receiver in the XFL in Nelson Spruce. This man catches everything, finds a way to get open. He's going to end up on the Patriots or something. But, Nelson Spruce is going to be a good story. I remember him for Hard Knocks, thought he should have made the team. But, he's playing really, really good football right now for LA. But, again, the question with LA is their defense. Can they get their defense together? Because it's bad. It's not good. And when they play good teams, I don't know if they're going to have the offense to keep up. They're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to be a fun team to keep up with. But that defense is going to be a problem for them. The next game and the last game and the best game of the week, in my opinion, the funnest game to watch of the week was St. Louis at Houston. Great atmosphere again for Houston. They actually sold more tickets than they did last week for this game. So it goes to show if you give people in Texas good football, they'll pay for it and they'll come in numbers. So, good on them. They have a good turnout there, great crowd, great atmosphere. And this was just fun to watch because the quarterback play on both sides was pretty good. And it was pretty good for two pretty different reasons. On the St. Louis side, you had Jordan Ta'amu, who is 22 years old, probably should still be in college, but got denied a year of eligibility because of a prep high school that was kind of like one of those in-betweens. They ruled that as a year of eligibility and kind of kicked him out. So he probably should be at Ole Miss developing still. And he's young. He's really developing. There's a lot. He's raw, but there's a lot of tools there. I think maybe – I don't think at the end of this year he's going to be ready to stay in the NFL. But I think if he gets 2-3 years in the XFL to develop, when he's 25, those 2-3 years of playing experience, he might actually be ready to, either be a backup or maybe a fringe starter for somebody. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot there for him. He makes smart decisions most of the time. He's athletic. I think there's a future there for Jordan Ta'amu. On the other side of the ball, at quarterback, you have P.J. Walker, who is the Lamar Jackson of this league. And not in style of play because he plays more like Tyrod Taylor than he does a Lamar Jackson. He actually plays really similar to Tyrod Taylor. I think he takes more chances than Tyrod did. But, he just has like a similar ball. When he throws it, it looks a lot like Tyrod. And when he runs, he just reminds me a lot of Tyrod Taylor, except for he's not as safe as Tyrod, which makes him so much more fun to watch. And he is just electric to watch. I am going to watch every game that he plays football because he is just so fun to watch. I wonder how I didn't hear of him in college, but he went to Temple. That explains a lot. But man, this dude if you haven't watched PJ Walker, I'm going to try to put some highlights up here. Hopefully I don't copyright claim him. But if you have not watched PJ Walker play football, you need to see it. You need to go back, watch the 2 weeks worth of highlights, and then tune in Saturday, 2 or 3 o'clock on ABC and watch this man play. He is fun to watch, exciting. It's like watching a Johnny Manziel kind of, but like he actually understands football and studies the playbook. It's exciting. I don't want to oversell him. It's not going to be Johnny football at peak Johnny. It might have been an oversell, but it's fun to watch. It really is. It's exciting. He makes exciting plays. He is one of the most exciting. He might win the MVP because he's exciting. I don't think he's better than Cardale, but he's exciting. He's more exciting than Cardale by far. Fun to watch. So I recommend watching PJ Walker because if he plays like this for the entire season in the XFL, I can't imagine somebody doesn't give him a chance because he's making real plays. And yeah, keep in mind the level of play here is much higher than what you see in college football, even Power 5, even the best, because at best on the best teams you'll have maybe 12 NFL guys on the roster. I mean, not on the roster, but on the field against each other at the same time. Right now, they're French guys. It's across the board. It's going to be better athletes. It's only a step behind what you would see in professional football. And, college football is a couple of steps behind that speed. It's much different. And he's making plays that I think could be made in the NFL. He's really good. Now, again, Jordan Teamu, really good as well. He's going to develop. It's going to be interesting how he develops. This St. Louis Battlehawks team, pretty good. I think they're the third best team in the entire XFL. I think they have some really promising players. I think they have a good coach. I think they have a good game plan almost every week. This St. Louis team is going to be pretty good. And they might have a pretty good home field advantage too, because St. Louis doesn't even have a team to compete with in their market. So they might be really excited for the football in that market. So again, keep your eye on the St. Louis team. They might come back with a vengeance because their quarterback, again, 22 years old, younger than me. And I'm not old. I promise I'm not old. But again, St. Louis brought it. Very good team. Houston's just better. Houston and DC look like the two best teams right now. Now, that can change in a couple weeks. That can change next week. One of these teams will get blown out. We don't know. That's the beauty of this league. Nobody knows. Nobody's an expert. Nobody has the answers. And all we can do is watch and have fun while we do it. And in that football, isn't that the beauty of it? But again, another good game. PJ Walker deserves a lot of praise, deserves the XFL MVP talks that he's going to get. All right, so my quick takes for week 2 of the XFL real quick. And then the first take is I think the XFL is for real. The level of play is for real. The football is for real. This is good football. This is football that you can say is professional quality football, and it seems like it's only getting better day in and day out. So kudos to the XFL, because I was worried about that. I thought that was going to be worse than the AAF. It is significantly. And the AAF did not have bad football. Let me be clear on that. It did not have bad football. It was watchable. But this is significantly better football than what the AAF offered you. And a lot of those guys in the AAF got contracts with NFL teams. Garrett Gilbert's on the Browns still right now. Not playing. He's on the Browns, though. And that was one of the better players in the AAF. So don't think that was a pushover league. But the football in this league, much better. Much better coached. There's much better development going on. The offensive line and defensive line play it's good football, honestly. If you're a fan and you actually know what to watch, it's good football. That's all I can say. The next thing is that PJ Walker and Cardale Jones are must-see TV. If you're going to tune into an XFL game, pick PJ Walker, pick Cardale Jones, sit back for 3 hours because the games are exactly 3 hours with halftime included. Just a nice little 3-hour chunk and have a blast. That's all I can tell you. If you want to pick a game, pick one of those two players. Preferably PJ Walker's probably more exciting than Cardale because Cardale's teams has been blowing teams out. But PJ, just pick the Houston Roughnecks game, sit back, watch it, and you'll have a good 3 hours. That's what it's been for the first 2 weeks. I hope it continues on. The next thing is, man, this unprecedented access that the XFL gives you, it's not a gimmick. I mean, it could be a gimmick. It could be something goofy like the original XFL did similar things. It just felt stupid and goofy and misused. But this unprecedented access actually teaches me more about football. Not just with the offensive coordinator being mic'd up and you actually hearing the calls you go. Not just with the referees being mic'd up when they go to replay and you actually hearing the referees talk and negotiate out what they're going to call and what they're not going to call and what the replay booth sees. No. Those are all good things. Those are all things that teach you a lot about football. But even more so is the unprecedented access that you have to these players. Everybody's mic'd. All the mics are live, and you hear everything. And that includes when your quarterback goes on a meltdown. It makes things that didn't make sense if you didn't have this information make sense. Like if we didn't know the mic'd up stuff in the interviews and Matt McGloin got benched, everybody would be like, what are they doing? They're already panicking. We'd be blaming the coach. We'd be like, oh, they stink. Nobody knows. Everybody would be left in a cloud of mystery. But now that's not the case because we know exactly why Matt McGloin got himself benched. It's because he told the coaches, you suck, in real time to the national media, to the national world on national TV. And they didn't like that. They didn't like that very much. They didn't like how he was carrying himself. They didn't like the things that he was saying on the sidelines. And guess what? We got to hear all of it. So when he got benched in the third quarter, nobody was surprised. Everybody understood. And that's the kind of thing that brings you closer to understanding why some decisions happen. And now the next time I watch a football game, whether it's XFL or NFL, I'm going to understand that this is how these meltdowns go down and that, there's nuances to these situations. But the beauty of the XFL is even if you're getting beat down 27-0, you could still be the most exciting story of the week because you are allowed to have a meltdown on national TV and you're mic'd up and they're going to go with your mic and put a camera on you and allow you to melt down so the whole world can see you do it. It's like watching a beautiful fire or a volcano just explode in real time. It's just you can't take your eyes off of it. So even though the defenders were just beaten down, just demoralizing the New York Guardians, they really did. I couldn't take my eyes off of it because this man, Matt McGloin, was just losing his psyche. And you didn't expect that at all. And that's why I love the XFL. But let me know what your opinion is of the XFL. Did you watch this week? Are you going to watch next week? And did you think the football was good? And let me know in the comment section down below what your team is and why you're repping your team or who your favorite player is. It's that kind of league. Maybe pick your favorite player. You don't got to have a favorite team. Pick your favorite player. Pick your favorite story of the week. Pick the guy that excited you this week, or pick the team that excited you this week, or the city that excited you this week. Whatever reason you have for watching the XFL, I want to know it in the comment section down below, especially got this far into the video. But thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding that notification bell so you can be notified when I upload. But thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.